talk about in the book about how like your thoughts were consumed with contemplation for a very long time. And I guess that now that you're able to not have to contemplate those same thoughts, almost like what we were talking about at the beginning about the thoughts about the future and the thoughts about it being impossible, now that you have that headspace back, or hopefully more of it back, what would that now be? What are you directing that towards? Or what opportunities is that opening? Or where are you able to spend that thought power?
Wrote a book.
Yeah.
I wrote a book. I mean, I make, for fun, like music with a friend. It's actually hard to describe when it's literally now every aspect and every moment of my life. Like when people go, oh, what was your last incident of like gender euphoria? I'm like, oh, this morning when I was drinking coffee in silence and just being able to sit and have my coffee. Doing things in the past that like I did enjoy, but a part of me wasn't there. So it could just be going to meet some friends in the park. And I'm really able to just be in the park with them. I'm not thinking about, oh, well, did I eat? Well, you only ate this much time ago. And oh God, I'm so uncomfortable and tucking down my shirt and looking and just kind of wanting to get out always. Like always wanting to just, this sense of always wanting to flee. And now, sometimes, of course, there's moments where I'm like, I'd really love to just be home reading a book right now. I mean, like, it's not like I'm like Johnny Social all of a sudden, but going from having like a very difficult time being social and feeling connected, or now getting to feel like immersed in life versus struggling to know how to live it.
Wow. That definitely registers. Hearing that definitely hits. Thank you for explaining that. When you went on the book tour, and you obviously, as you just said, you wrote the book, what have been the responses that have really warmed your heart, or that have really connected to you in a way that are going to stay with you for a long, long time, either on tour or I'm sure you've had so many people write to you because of the book and write to your team and everyone else. What are some of those that you could tell us now, especially now that the book's been out for a while? I'm guessing it's only getting more and more.
Yeah, I think the most moving and beautiful responses are people kind of expressing at all ages how me and sharing my story has helped them, feel less alone, helped them talk to their parents in a new way, helped them carry less shame. I had a letter from someone who they might have been, 50, and they'd read the book, and then finally had decided, yes, I'm going on testosterone, and just saying like how much that decision had changed their life. And I fully was like crying when I read this. I was just so thankful that they'd want to, share that with me. And also to know that anything you could have done or expressed would help someone feel less alone, because I know how alone you can feel. I know how overwhelmed and burdened you can feel by this self-hate and discomfort that just is constantly running through your body. And what it means when you do get those moments of clarity and feel connection. As I've said, I've had that with books I've read, or, friendships and what communities offered me. So those are beautiful moments. And then even, a friend of mine who's transmasc, and their mom read the book in like a couple days, and they said, I'm now having conversations with my mom that I didn't think were possible before. It's like, I mean, at the end of the day, like that's the point. I mean, that's really the point. It's like, why else am I like spilling my guts in this thing? Like sometimes I'd be like leading up to it coming out, I'm like, oh my God, why'd you write about that? And then when you have those moments that it could be helping someone, it's just like, I mean, to me, that's the point.
Yeah. Did you encounter anyone that initially may have been, in their own way, initially critical or judgmental, and then was able to kind of even just sit with you and hear from you, and was able to comprehend and understand just even a glimpse into the journey? Did you come across any of that, or hear about any of those types of stories from anyone?
I mean, I suppose people, I don't know if, the individual went on like some huge arc or change of thought, but that it enabled them to think about and understand the experience a bit more. And actually, in so many ways that I think so special is how much they also related to it, despite having a very different experience, not being trans. And
how did they relate to it?
They related it being, cis and gay. And so obviously there's going to be like overlap there, but maybe they did have their certain feelings about trans people or thoughts, and the book really did help, their mind change to a degree.
I'm so glad that, there's so many books that you mentioned today that I want to read, and I know that, our community is hopefully going to read Page Boy as well after this, but it's fascinating to me just how how we all became trained in different ways, conditioned in different ways to become closed to experiences that you would hope we would have become more curious to learn about and more open to learn about. And it's fascinating to me as a society how we've become more and more closed-minded about so many issues, as opposed to being broad-minded, when it obviously makes sense to be open-minded about things, makes us a healthier, happier, more growth-focused human. And for me, I've always talked about how I think the best thing that happened to me is I met people who were very different to society when I was young.
Mm.
And when I say different, I mean, for me, it was meeting spiritual monks. Like, that was my personal journey. And so meeting a monk at 18 years old was so random to my life's journey that it was great, because it presented a whole new way of thinking and ideology that I would never have ever thought could even be possible. And it became such a big part of my life. And I'm hoping that, stories like yours and stories like this will continue to help people open up their minds to recognize how much there is in common that we have, and how much there is in common experience that we can learn from and be guided by, even if it's not the same experience. Would that be an accurate mission statement, to a part of the mission statement?
Absolutely. Ideally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, like memoir in particular, I read a lot of and love, and so much of it are, stories that are very different than mine, and people with different experiences and identity and what have you, that have deeply touched me and moved me and opened my mind and allowed me to grow and expand. And we're all learning all the time, you know, and it's beautiful to have the space, or, to help create the space on any level that allows people to grow and expand in that way.
Yeah.